Good morning. I'm back. Hey, what's up, Butterscotch? Long time no see, man. How are you? Yeah, it's been a minute. I took the weekend off from really doing anything content related. How about you? How was your weekend? All right. Well, it's Monday. We're back to it. What's up, Stefan? How are you, man? Did you have a good weekend? Do anything particularly exciting? Although, I probably shouldn't ask that because I always roll my eyes when people ask me that because I'm like, nope. Just hung out with my kids. Luke Smith came out with a new video. I don't think I know who Luke Smith is. Yeah, who is he? Stefan, why are you bad? Butterscotch, all good. Just witnessed a conflict between us and our neighbor. Oh man, that sucks. Conflict with your neighbors is so bad, man. It's just awkward, right? It's just like, you, especially if you live in like a close proximity, right? Like if it's your neighbors across the street or right next door, it just becomes so awkward. Stefan, because it's deload week, duh. Deload week is like that's you look forward to that, right? I mean, that's what you can tell yourself on like your top set on the most difficult week is like, okay, I just got to get to deload week. I just got to get to deload week. It's like deload week is like the equivalent of a vacation in the working world. You know what I mean? No, I look forward to it, man. Cut that volume in half, cut that intensity in half, and just chill. I don't even feel like I worked out. I hate it. That's what it's supposed to feel like, so you're doing it right, you know? Next week it's just PR tests. Well, PRs will be fun. Butterscotch, not that neighbor. I was talking about Pakistan. Oh, I'm an idiot. I'm such an idiot. I thought you were talking about like your literal neighbor. Um, yeah, I saw that. I saw you guys were popping off there for the last couple weeks, and then, but now there's a ceasefire, right, Butterscotch? Stefan, I want pain and suffering. Well, I guess I appreciate that. You're what? You're 10 years younger than I am. You're in your 20s, right? Early 20s. So I feel you, man. I think I would probably be. I probably didn't enjoy deload weeks as much 10 years ago as I do now. Duck D's. Good morning. Hello, Duck D's. How are you? It is a good morning indeed. A good morning indeed. I'll become 20 in less than a month. Yeah, so you're 12 years younger than I am. Yeah, so I feel you. I feel you there, man. I don't even think I did deload weeks when I was 20 years old, honestly. So you're already training smarter than I was. Yeah, new wrist straps, nice. Or I guess wrist wraps. That'll be good. Hello, Pablo. How are you, man? Long time no see. You been doing well? Life treating you good? It's been a minute. Is work busy? Oh, nice, Pablo. Did we miss your birthday? Happy belated birthday, dude. I hope it was a blast. Duck D's, I'm doing good, man. I got some coffee. I've got a list of to-dos, and I'm making progress. Yeah. I do need to get a haircut, though, as you can tell. I do need to get a haircut. I'll probably do that this week. I could probably get another month out of my hair, but I'm so cheap when it comes to my own haircuts. I try to make them as far apart as possible. Nice, dude. I'm glad it was good. Everything's well here, Pablo. We're just living our best life, you know. Still working on the. We finished the MCP thing. I'm still working on the Discord bot here and there. Yeah, man, just coding, hacking away. Steven, you kind of popped off. I mean, I remember it was hype when there was 5 people live on stream. Go bold or go home. Yeah, I mean, I still expect there to only be like 1 or 2 people in my streams, but occasionally we get more than that, which is good. Duck D's, I liked your stream. Thanks for taking time to answer some questions. Of course, yeah, man. I'm always happy to. I mean, really, these office hour streams are really just a chance for you guys for us to interact. You know, I mean, it doesn't have to be necessarily about coding or programming, although sometimes it is. But you know, it can be about just life in general, career stuff, work stuff. You know. Steph, I cut myself. That's not good. Oh, you cut your own hair. Pablo said your hair, right? Your hair, right? Do you walk art? Is that some sort of painting in the back? Yeah, it's a painting of Albert Einstein is what's hanging behind me. Like a canvas painting. I mean, I respect it if you cut your own hair. I've always thought like I should learn how to do that, but I'm always afraid I'm going to screw it up really bad. And I've never actually seen what I look like with a shaved head or like a super, super like close crop haircut. So I'm afraid to screw it up and then I have to shave my head. What's up, Toad Sage? How are you? How goes things in Japan? Life as well? Butterscotch, I've been meaning to tell you that recommendation you gave me about Zoxide, right? That's what it's called, right? Zoxide. That's got to be one of the best additions to my like computer setup, dev environment setup in a long time. I love it. I use it all the time. I think if I ever go back to using a machine without it, I'll be in a lot of pain. Stefan, I do like a military cut. Yeah, like a buzz cut. Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think people should cut their hair however they want to cut their hair, you know? Toad says, not easy, but good. You don't know about Zoxide? I didn't know. Butterscotch was the one who told me about it because I think he saw me like change directory. He saw me CD into like lots of nested levels of directory. Man, but that is an OP utility. Also, for anybody who maybe is in chat who's never heard of it either, I'll just paste the link in there. It's pretty wonderful. You should install Zoxide. Awesome. I love it so much. Stefan, when I was little, I wanted a mohawk. Thank God my parents were like, no. We basically, our thing with our boys is we've basically have just let them dictate their haircuts, you know? I mean, early on they didn't have an opinion, but now we kind of let them. And I think it's good practice because like they're learning how to communicate to the hairstylist or their barber, whoever is cutting their hair. They're learning how to communicate about what their hair should look like or how they want it cut. And then we always ask them, do you like it? You know, do you like how it's cut? So I think Stefan, I think your parents should have let you have your mohawk. You know? You definitely should have been allowed to have a mohawk haircut. Chiton, hello Chiton. It has been a while. I took the weekend off. My parents were, or my mom and my stepdad were visiting us, and then Sunday was Mother's Day, so I just focused on family all weekend, you know. Butterscotch, I like long hairs until I get frustrated styling them. Yeah, like this is too long for me, honestly. I'm not a big fan of long hair. I like short hair. It feels better. It's cooler. But I let it get long like this just because I don't want to pay to get it cut real often. Stefan, thank God they didn't. Well, it sounds like my sons are going to have the opposite experience as you. We're going to let them do all the crazy haircuts. Changing topic a bit. What have you been working on in the coding streams lately? So, let's see. We went really heavy on the MCP server there for a couple weeks, and I got that done and published. That's actually now out there on NPM for people to, you know, experiment with or play with. That who you know, people who use the OnSpring software who might want to play around with it. And it served its purpose for me. I learned a lot about MCP and then MCP servers and the general gist of that technology, which was good. And then recently I switched over to trying to build a Discord bot, Pablo, but I decided not to use an existing I'm not using any existing client SDKs. I'm just kind of building it all from scratch myself in C# and .NET. So that's what we've been doing a lot in the streams lately. I know Stefan at some point wants me to go back to learning Go, but I haven't made my way back yet. Stefan, I used to go to the barber, and that same barber cut my granddad and my dad's hair, so she decided you'll have the same hair as your granddad. I love that, Stefan. I think that's wonderful. That's awesome that you guys have been, you know, doing business with somebody for multiple generations. I love those kinds of stories. Steven, give EZA and FZF tab in WSL. Those are neat. Okay, yeah, let me put those on my list here. EZA? EZA, okay. and FZF tab. I think I've heard of FZF tab before. I may actually have this one. I think I have this one set up on my other. This sounds very familiar. But yeah, I'll definitely check it out. Thanks for the Rex. Thank you for the Rex. Nokutoka. Hey yo, glad to see you back on stream. Yeah, I took the weekend off. Had a nice family weekend. Hung out with my family. Mother's Day was on Sunday, so celebrated Mother's Day with my wife and our boys. And saw my parents this weekend, so that was good. KS. Hi, Steven. Hello, KS. How are you doing? Oh, appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming back to live. I always appreciate it when people come back and say hi and hang out and chat. I know people have lots of content they could watch and lots of people they could follow, and I appreciate it when people circle back around to my stuff. Pablo, I've worked on Discord bots with Discord.js. Very nice. Yeah, actually, that Discord.js has come up multiple times in those streams because I kind of went on a little bit of an exploration of like what existing client libraries are out there and what languages. I looked at Discord.js. I looked at one library that was written in Go, and I looked at two libraries that were written in .NET. And by far, Discord.js seems like if that's the library you want to use, if you want to get a Discord bot stood up in a day and deployed and ready to go, Discord.js is probably the best option. But after seeing their gateway API, after reading through their API documentation, I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to implement this myself because I think it will be a really great learning experience. Which for me, largely, a lot of the times with projects, because I don't spend 40 hours a week as an engineer working every day, you know, I'm a quality engineer, so I do about 50% manual, 50% automation. A lot of the projects I take on in my free time, they have to do like one of two things. They either have to solve an issue for myself or someone in my life, or they need to make me better, like a better engineer. KS, I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. No complaints. Noku. Yeah, that's right. Okay. I'll call you Noku. That's easier for me. Not that there's anything wrong with your name, just I'm terrible at pronouncing names. Pablo, Discord.js is the best, definitely. Yeah, it was pretty wild. Like when you look at their docs, that like they have like a getting started section there, and you can get started with like 20 lines of code. You're up and running. It's pretty wild. Butterscotch, everything is just a wrapper around wrapper around wrapper. Well, yeah, I mean, right, like that, and that's honestly, that's the benefit of technology, right? Is you get to stand on the shoulders of giants, right? People, you know, you don't have to implement your own TCP connection. You don't have to write your own HTTP server, right? You don't have to. That's the benefit, you know. And I think sometimes we lose sight of that. Like engineers get really hardcore and they're like, oh, but you know, developers today, engineers today, they don't understand XYZ. And it's kind of a privileged thing to say, right? Because if you started writing programs 40 years ago, well, let's see, 40 years ago would be 1985, so even 50 years ago, you would literally be constructing like the most primitive of things, right? And you've been able to accumulate knowledge in a very incremental way as the layers developed, versus somebody who comes into engineering today, it's the learning curve is exponential, right? It's just it's pretty wild, right? How many layers of abstraction there are. And I just think it's unfair to knock people, right, for using those abstractions. Neo, yo, long time no see. What's up, Neo? How are you? Good to see you, man. Pablo, if you just want to automate some message, then webhooks are a better fit. Discord.js is for interactivity. Well, yeah, I'm using their gateway API, which, I mean, Discord.js has an API to interact with their gateway API. And I looked at their webhooks, but their webhooks really didn't. There's not very many events you can listen to through the webhooks API. There's like 3 events that you can use through their webhook API, and they're very limited. And so I need to use their gateway API because I want to react to some different events, like when a message is sent or somebody joins my server. And so that's why I'm using their gateway API. Yeah, their webhook API only has application authorized, entitlement create, or Quest user enrollment. Toad says 2 Japanese watchers. Let's go, Steven. Getting famous in Japan. two viewers. I'm far from famous anywhere. KS, have you got any comments on Gen AI booming right now? Langchain rag stuff. Yeah, I guess my comments on it, KS, is I'm more of a moderate, right? I don't think LLMs or Gen AI is useless. I also don't think LLMs and Gen AI is the solution to every problem. I don't think. I also don't think that Gen AI and LLMs are going to eliminate a bunch of jobs in the next 24 months, like so many people right now are claiming. I don't think the real world moves as fast as people think it moves. I mean, you look at like robotics and how 10 years ago or 20 years ago, people were claiming, anybody who worked in a manufacturing plant was going to be out of a job because we were going to automate all those jobs. And I can tell you from firsthand, working in a manufacturing setting and having been in a lot of different manufacturing plants, when I was a project manager for a millwright company that did industrial construction, the world just doesn't move that quickly. So, but I do think the technology is valuable. I think the technology is very useful, and I think it will continue to be so. And I think as an engineer or as somebody who's in the tech space or you're working in tech, I think you really have 2 things you need to be focused on. I think you need to be focused on understanding the technologies, right? Doesn't mean you have to use them professionally. I just think you need some awareness and some base level of understanding of like, what is a transformer? How do I interact with an LLM? What are the different API providers I can talk to? Who are the big foundation model builders? Those types of things. And then I think the other thing you need to be doing is you also need to be interacting with AI or LLM powered tools, right? So maybe you should probably have some experience with Copilot. You should probably maybe get some experience with some sort of agentic editor, right? Just for the sheer fact that you have awareness and you have some familiarity. Because I don't necessarily think that stuff's going to go away, Pablo, my toaster is a wrapper around a resistor. I'm glad I don't have to run electricity through a wire for a specific amount of time to toast my bread. Yeah. So true. So true, man. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So, but that's my issue with a lot of engineers sometimes is they just get so hoity-toity about like, oh, you've never written C before. How could you ever understand how memory works in a computer? You know? Stefan, you're famous, Steven. Let me go grab some iced tea. Yeah, get your iced tea, man. That's what you need. Pablo. Yeah, see, I'm like what Pablo said to UKS. That's where I'm at. It's like use it, experiment with it, have familiarity with it. But I just don't believe I don't believe all the hype. I don't believe the hype that like in 24 months, like I don't like there's like a big push right now in like the SaaS world of like how SaaS is dead because every company is just going to build their own version of the SaaS products that they buy, right? It's like you don't need to buy Canva anymore because you can vibe code Canva, and you don't need to buy Salesforce anymore because you can just vibe code your own version of Salesforce. And it just shows how reductionist and oversimplification and lack of understanding people really have about the technology they use, which is okay because they're not, they're business people. They're, that's not their expertise. But I think to run around trying to scare a bunch of engineers and a bunch of developers, a bunch of tech workers is just ridiculous. Unique UX. Have you checked out OpenRouter, Windsurf, or Klein? I have not used any. The only agentic editor I've used has been Copilot Agent Mode. The next one on my list to try is Claude Code, the Anthropic agent for coding. That's the next one on my list. Toad says that's true too, though. You have to learn C at some point. I love C, C++, and I think Pablo. That's my point. Is like that's my point. It's not that I'm saying you shouldn't learn C or that you shouldn't do C. It's people who it's the attitude that people shit on others for not knowing certain layers of abstraction. It's like, oh, you don't understand anything below JavaScript, or oh, you don't know any lower level below HTTP, how HTTP work. You don't understand how TCP works. You don't understand, and so, which to them I would say, so do you understand how the medicine you put in your body is made? Do you understand the chemical reactions of your metabolism and how the food you eat interacts with your biochemistry? Do you understand how the hardware you used is engineered every day? There's this, do you understand how like the walls in your house were constructed? Do you know how like the light bulb that you plug in is engineered? Do you understand the physics of that? Like, I think that's just such a, it's like what's the word? It's like gatekeep. It's not really gatekeeping, but it's just you're trying to position yourself above others with using some sort of arbitrary thing, you know. And so it's like, it's not that I don't think it would be good for people to know these things, right? I kind of believe in what Scott Hanselman says about like, you should try to go one layer lower than wherever you work at in the stack. But if you're somebody who builds marketing websites, I don't think you need to go learn C, you know? I just, there's, yeah, I don't know. It's just stuff like that doesn't sit well with me. Butterscotch, have you tried building with vibe coding? We tried one day on stream, and it went okay, but we could never actually get the LLM to accomplish the goal. It wrote a lot of code. Some of it was kind of good, but it could never get to completion. And then at that point, it was like, well, okay, if I'm going to get this to work, I'm going to have to step in and understand all the code it wrote. And then for me, I kind of lost interest at that point because it's like, well, if I had to deal with that, I would much rather just write the code myself. Um, and that was the biggest takeaway for me from that experience, Butterscotch, was if I just didn't have as much fun vibe coding as I did just writing code myself. Doesn't mean that when I write code I can't use LLM tools to make my coding experience better, but this idea of like prompting, just all code is written through prompting an LLM, that was not fun. I did not enjoy that. Unique UX. Do you understand group dynamics in the context of symbolism? I don't think I do. That I think that all went over my head. Toad says, quick fact, I know most of the stuff you mentioned. Well, that's awesome. And I'm not going to say that like people who know that stuff might be better positioned to get work or do things than those who don't know those things. It's like, I'm not a big fan of people who flex on others because they know those things. What's up, Network Bib? How are you? Noku, build your marketing website by using C to build a web browser from scratch, implementing all the JavaScript runtime, the render, even the protocols that is hard coded to your website. Yeah, Noku, that's kind of the attitude I'm talking about, right? I know you're saying it facetiously, but that's the attitude I'm talking about. It's like you can't build a website until you understand how your browser works, and you can't use a browser until you understand how it was built, and it's that kind of attitude that I think is just kind of asinine, because the whole point of having abstractions is that so you don't have to be concerned with the implementation details. Like that, like I mean, that's the whole idea behind programming to an interface, right? It's to create decoupling. It's to you don't like, you know, when you pull an npm package down, you don't need to go read the npm package source code, right? Unless you really, really need to. But you're supposed to be able to count. That's what an API is. You're supposed to be able to count on a known interface that's documented and just use that interface. It's the same reason people, like what Pablo said earlier about Discord.js, like very few people I bet actually know how to talk to the Discord gateway API. Like I'll guarantee you at this point I can speak more intelligently about using Discord's gateway API than a number of people, because most people just use the existing wrappers. They just use the existing APIs that exist for their language rather than implementing it themselves. And that's not a bad thing. Like, that's the way it should be. Hence why I said, if you wanted to be productive and have a Discord bot set up today, you should use Discord.js. You shouldn't try to reinvent the wheel. Pablo, I use vibe coding to make mermaid graphs and stuff. Yeah, that's a good use case. I use vibe coding a lot for doing tests code. Like, I think Copilot raw. I think if you're a developer who doesn't write tests because you don't like to write tests, you should pay for a Copilot just because Copilot will help you write tests. And the test written is much better than no test written. It just test code is just there's so much boilerplate to test code that LLMs rock at that. Chiton, I use prompt engineering to animate my story into a cinematic video. It's about learning new things. Doesn't matter it's a vibe or some other things. Yeah, I agree with that. I'm with you there, man. I just think if you told me you can only write code through prompting an LLM, I'd be like, I'm done. I'm gonna go find a different profession. I don't think, I'll go work on the business side of things, or I'll go work in a different industry. Toad Sage, I get the point, and I agree with you. Not arguing with that, but I love learning the background. Yes, and I think that is awesome. And I think, and I there is a part of me, Toad Sage, that believes, like I said, was what I'm a believer. What Scott Hanselman says, where it's like whatever level of the stack you're at, you should try to go one level lower, right? And that's the whole point of why I've been trying to learn about how you actually build transformers or these GPTs, is because the level of the stack I work at is basically I just make API calls and use prompting, right? But I want to go one layer below that and try to understand the models more intricately, right? So I do think it's a good use of time. I just don't like the attitude some people put towards others that haven't yet done that learning or haven't yet had the time to. It's like, oh, you're not a real engineer yet. Unique UX. It's levels of abstractions, yes. I've been going lower into the depths of abstraction my whole life. I'm ready to resurface. Yeah. I feel you, man. I do feel like, too, like, it's one of those things where it's like, if you're really working in a particular field every day, I think a lot of the times your work will sort of drive you to have to understand the deeper layers, right? When you encounter a problem or you've got something you can't figure out how to do, it sort of forces you to go fill in the gaps in your knowledge a lot of times. What's up, Artwork Studios? How are you? Good to see you again. See you, Pablo. Have a good meeting, man. Pablo, agree 100% on the test. Yeah, it's awesome for writing tests. I mean, you still have to write good tests, right? And you still got to write your code in such a way that it can be tested. But, man, it sure does save you a lot of time. Noku, write the backend in Bash. That sounds like it would be painful. Although, if any of you are familiar with a guy named Dave Eddy, I think he goes by You Suck at Programming on TikTok, and maybe on YouTube too. But he could probably write a full backend in Bash. That dude knows his Bash. It's pretty wild to listen to his content. I need to go take an allergy pill because my nose is itching. Chatan, hey, have you explored Koyeb, free hosting platform via Docker image? No, I haven't. I think you were telling me about them, that they're your chosen. They're at the moment the person you host with because they don't require you to sign up with a credit card, right? I think you were telling me about that. Unique UX. What do you think about 3D in web or web games? What do you think about AR, VR? What do you see the future tech looking like? Um, I think the 3D stuff's cool. I don't have much experience with it, but every time I see a website that uses 3D, I always think that's awesome. Uh, what do I think about AR and VR? I think AR and VR is very cool. Actually, I'm a big believer. We bought a Meta Quest, yeah, a Meta Quest 3 earlier this year, and I'm in love with it, man. Like, if you could give me all the functionality that's in the Meta Quest, but in the form factor of like the Meta Ray Bans with decent battery life, I would be sold. Yeah, I think that's probably where the next revolution happens in terms of like physical interaction with our digital world. You know, because right now I have a phone. I have like three or four different computers. I've got another phone that's my work phone, right? And so if you could say, not only do I have those devices, I have two monitors here that I like to work on. And it takes up all this physical space. All this stuff takes up all this physical space. But if you could tell me, hey, you can get a pair of sunglasses, you put your pair of sunglasses on, and you have access to all that same stuff. You can make as many virtual monitors as you want to work with. There's a keyboard in the virtual world that you can use that gives you feedback. Um, like I would trade it. I would 100%. You just all you do is you carry around like a set of Iron Man glasses. I think that would be baller. Obviously, I think there's like some fundamental science that has to take place, like material science. They've got to figure out for like batteries and whatnot. But I could totally envision a world where that's a thing. Ste- Stefan's in an argument with Nightbot. Oh no. I see a lot of AI done for you products. I'd like to see more community driven creative projects with AI assistance. What do you think though the AI assistants would do? Unique UX, I'm curious. Cuz like when I think of my day-to-day life, I don't know what I would use an AI assistant to do. I don't travel a lot, right? So like booking trips, arranging travel arrangements, that's not really a thing, but it's always used as like booking an Uber or booking a flight or booking a hotel room is always used as like the killer assistant demo action. Um, like I don't know what I would have. I don't know what I would use an AI assistant for. You know, weird bites. Hell yeah! What's up, weird bites? How are you, Chiton? AR and VR can do high damage to your eyes. Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting. I might have to do a little bit more digging about that. I hadn't heard about that, but I mean, we definitely have to figure that out then, right? If AI or I mean, if AR and VR is going to damage your eyes, uh, that won't work. You know, I'm a big believer. Like I will sometimes I'll sit on the couch, I'll put the MetaQuest on, and I'll connect it to one of my laptops, and I'll have like three virtual monitors, big old virtual monitors. I have my keyboard in front of me, um, and it's a really great experience. Honestly, I mean the resolution could be better, and obviously it could be slimmer. It could not be as heavy or as bulky as it is, but some sort of AR type glasses, I could totally see that technology replacing a watch, a phone, a computer, three different external monitors. Unique UX, like a collaborative AI that helps you and your friends visualize stories or games. Think Minecraft building, but your friends making control experiences. Oh, interesting. And you do that all through like a chat interface? Like you talk to the AI and it would help you construct that story or construct that game? weird bites. Don't computers also screw up our eyes though? I expect that tech will improve. Yeah, I think blue light's not good for your eyes, which is like the vast majority of the spectrum of light that devices emit. Just get a Neuralink implanted, Steven, then you don't need monitors at all. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm more the Neuralink stuff is cool. Like that's very cool. And I can see that having a huge impact from a medical perspective for people who have diseases or injuries. But for a healthy person, I feel like I would be very skeptical to implant something in my like as being a completely healthy human being. I don't know. I'm always concerned with doing stuff that screw with your physical health, you know? Chiton, I have this dream project in mind. It's not going to happen, but the idea is to wire the mind to a screen. Whatever the person has, his her imagination should be able to visualize and all. Oh, this is interesting. That's kind of they kind of do something like that now, right? With functional MRIs. But I think that's more. I guess that has to do more with brain activity. I don't know if they can actually turn that information into a. Oh no, this is what I had read about. Using AI models to reconstruct images based on brain activity. That's kind of interesting. So taking readings from fMRIs and then training models to take the brain activity and then recreate the image. That's kind of an interesting. This was an article I read on Science a year or two ago. The Story Twist. How are you? I'm good. How are you, Story Twists? Steven, assume that everyone else have Neuralink implant. Didn't that give them the higher edge? Yeah, I guess that would become a question, right? I mean, that's the whole question around like genetically engineering your children, right? Too. It's like if you allow people to genetically engineer their children, do people who does it continually distort the existing economic disparity between the wealthy and the poor? You know, because theoretically, if you can engineer your child, right, then wealthy people will be able to pay to have children who are smarter, see better, live longer, are healthier. Um, all of those genetic traits and predispositions, right? They could, I mean, then it just completely distorts the edge that wealth gives you. And Neuralink, I mean, or some sort of body modification like that, right, is in the same vein. Because I'm guessing there would be a cost, right? So those people who can afford things like Neuralink. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's a weird world. Then we're in like what's that video game? We're like in cyberpunk. We're like in cyberpunk territory. The story twist, don't you? I don't know what you're referring to. Story twist. Toad says that's a good topic to discuss, man. Yeah, it's. I mean, that's kind of like a weird. That's a weird dystopian world, where I mean, it's already true today that wealthier people drive nicer cars, have bigger houses, have better medical insurance. I mean, that's already a thing, right? But then when you start talking about some of these fundamental things that human beings in the past have never really fucked with, and then we reach a point where like, yeah, you can pick your son's IQ and you can pick their length of life and but if you don't have the money, you just get whatever evolution gives you, right? Whatever biology cooks up for you, that's what you get. But I can also see another argument where someone would say, so you're telling me you have the technology to make sure that children are never born with disfigurements or congenital conditions or Huntington's disease or um, any of these terrible maladies, right? You could prevent cancer, you could prevent or you could reduce your child's risk of cancer, but you chose not to do that. I could also see somebody saying that's moralistically wrong, right? These are these questions of philosophy um, that are kind of difficult to answer, right? Butterscotch. Oh, wait a minute? Do you have a Neuralink? And then you pull out your EMP, your EMP grenade. Yeah, that might make you vulnerable. For sure. Well, and I think Chatan, don't sell yourself short. I mean, I think like having really wild, crazy ideas like that, right, is part of how people come up with the next greatest thing, right? Like, I mean, if you could go back 100 years or 200 years and show people the technology you use every day, they think you're a wizard, right? I mean, it's the ability to board a jet and be on the other side of the world in less than 24 hours, right? Like that's I mean there's so many pieces of technology today that we take for granted, but somebody who lived 100 years ago or 200 years ago would be blown away. Toad Sage, man, whenever I assume the future tech, it kind of freaked me out. Yeah, of course it does. It does, as a dad, as a parent, it doesn't freak me out, but it definitely gives me some anxiety. How do I prepare my kids? How do I get them ready? Um, you know, definitely gives me anxiety. Vampire Robotica 2249. Imagine 2249. Gosh, imagine what the world will look like. My wife and I were actually talking about this other day that like, you kind of forget that like your time here on earth is but a blip, right? You get so caught up in your own life and your own concerns and stuff that you sometimes forget like, you know what? Like there's going to be people who live there were people here who lived before me, and there's going to be people that live here way long after me. So it's kind of crazy to think about like what does the world look like in 200 years, 100 years. Definitely gives you perspective, and I think it gives you perspective in a good way. How do I stop my kids from becoming transhumanists? Yeah, exactly. I don't know. It's just like how do you prepare? Oh, did I kill the music too? I was like, why is it so quiet? I think Edge must have slept my tab here, or did I mute it? Oh, I think I pulled out my headphones. There we go. Like, where did the music go? There it is. Voldy, hey, sorry, I missed the stream almost. Was chatting with wifey. Yeah, well, chatting with your wife is way more important than hanging out in the stream. So definitely do that. Teton, actually, at 2,249, sun would grow so large that we can't sustain life on Earth, we better colonize Mars and in future one of Saturn's moon. Is that true? So in another 200 or so years, the sun is too big for us to sustain life on Earth? Is that real? I've never actually heard that. That seems way too soon. Yeah, come on, Dad. You can get a mechanical heart. Just get a mechanical heart, man. You know, I mean, I don't know. I've always thought it would be cool to live for a long time. You know how, like, in Lord of the Rings and stuff, they always talk about elves who live, like, hundreds of years. I always thought it'd be kind of cool to. I think if you knew you were gonna have, like, if you knew you were an immortal, or if you knew you were gonna live for 1,000 years, right? Like, say your orders of magnitude weren't 100 years, it's 1,000 years. I think that would vastly change the way you approach your life and the way you interact with other people. Butterscotch, immortality is a curse. Fair enough. I think that's definitely one way to look at it. Eternity is the only thing that scares me. I take solace in the journey. Fair enough. Fair enough. So my thought is, I'm not gonna participate in life. I'm gonna live a single life and die in peace, or maybe at 56 fall down from cliff, or any other causalities from my bucket list. Borderline restricted topics entered the chat. Well, I think our own mortality, like, these are things that people should talk more about, right? Sex, money, and death. These are the things we don't talk enough about. See you, Stefan. Have a good day, man. God, whenever I have to write an if-else statement, I just want to scream. I hate if-else statements. But sometimes it makes sense to use them. But whenever I use them, I have like an internal revolt. See you, Unique UX. Have a good day. Shivam, what's your work? I work as a quality engineer. You can check out my LinkedIn. It's in my channel description. But I work as a quality engineer. And hello, Shivam. Thanks for stopping by. Actually, it's lunchtime for me, actually. So I'm gonna bow out. But I'll be back in a couple hours for lunch. To work on some coding projects. Shivam, what language are you writing your if-else? Right now, I'm working in TypeScript. That's we use Playwright. We use Playwright as the framework, and TypeScript is the language to write automated tests. Yeah, and you're welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn. Thank you, Butterscotch. That's very helpful. All right, guys, I'm going to hop, but I hope you guys have a good rest of your Monday if I don't see you again. But I should be back in a couple hours to work on, probably work on that Discord bot. So, all right, y'all. I'll see you in a bit. Bye, guys. Bye.